Hello everyone, this is Super Spiky Shell. Super Mario 3D World is one of my favorite 3D Mario games I've ever played. It's not as unique as some of the others such as Sunshine, Odyssey, and Galaxies 1 and 2, which tackle more unique premises for story and level design. And despite the fact that 3D World is more of a linear 3D platformer game with general levels to run and jump across, the level design is where this game is at. It may be a simple premise, but the levels are so varied in terms of course theme and gameplay mechanics, and very few of those levels get muddied together. Many of the courses are fully original, and some of them are a lot more niche than in other 3D games. Some courses make excellent uses of gameplay mechanics that some 3D games shy away from. Plus, the themes are amazing by Mario standards, and are also incredibly varied throughout levels. Plus, the music itself is fire. It's basically Super Mario 3D Land if it were a lot less bland and forgettable. And no, this game isn't perfect, but same can be said with all my favorite games. And just because I consider it one of Mario's best games, doesn't mean there aren't any bad levels, nor do they hold back the game. Otherwise, the course quality has been incredibly consistent, unlike Super Mario 64. Speaking of that game, this is another 3D Mario course ranking video. And this time, I'm gonna rank all 88 levels in Super Mario 3D World. Now for each level, I will only include core levels, so none of the Captain Toad ones, Mystery House, or Enemy Blockade, or boss only levels. I can rank levels with bosses in them, such as the castles or forts or something equivalent. And there is one official level that is only boss fighting that will also make the list. But none of the other ones will make this ranking as they're either bonus or unofficial levels, neither of which would fit the ranking. I'm gonna rank all the courses from worst to best based off my own enjoyment out of them. Also, if you get a chance, please subscribe to my channel as it supports me and my everyday work on YouTube. Without further ado, let's get started. And to start off with the F tier, we have some levels that I consider awful. And to nobody's surprise, my most hated level in this game is Rammerhead Reef. This is just a slow underwater level with some of the most frustrating hazards and one of the blandest course themes ever. It's not as obnoxious as Dire Dire Docks in Super Mario 64, but it still sucks ass. So one thing about Super Mario 3D World is that it has a large variety of themes, some of which are incredibly wacky, and their gameplay mechanics usually make great level design. But this is one of the occasional levels that doesn't meet that mark. First of all, the swimming controls are slow and boring. They're definitely not frustrating like Mario 64's, but they make this level such a slog to go through, especially for how long it is, making it drag. Also, the Rammerheads are frustrating obstacles because those enemies are unfairly hard to avoid. And the one time Nintendo doesn't let you use the pointer to cheat the level like you can in some others. Also, they're uneasy to dodge because of how slow swimming is. No, the one interesting section with the Koopa Shell doesn't salvage it, because it has such little bearing on this level. It's both boring and frustrating at the same time. Every time I play it, I just want to be done ASAP. And the next worst level is Grumblump Inferno. It's another slow-paced and frustrating level, and this time, it's the rotating block. You stand on it and keep moving while that block constantly changes direction and carefully avoids slipping off, while inconveniently avoiding other hazards and dealing with skip squeaks on one of them. And if you make any kind of mistake, you will have to start over and slug through this whole thing again. Who in the right mind thought this was a good idea for a level? Did anyone in the development team not take into consideration that this would be an unfair challenge? It's so painfully tedious because you have to be so precise with your movements and timing. I'm all for challenge, but if there's no room for slight error, and you have to do everything almost perfectly right or redo everything, it takes out all the fun. Plus, if you're good at this level and don't have frustration with this gimmick, then it's boring. The only reason why it's not in last place is because there is one interesting segment like that green star coin segment. But otherwise, I'd rather not torture myself through this bullshit unless I have to. And now we still have bad levels to go, but at least these ones aren't awful like the last two I mentioned. And to start off, we have one of the bonus world levels. so I don't think it's any surprise that World's Mushroom and Flower were underwhelming. Most of the courses just rehash existing levels from the previous worlds, but make them harder. And while some are just as good, if not better, due to additional unique elements, others are incredibly lazy and fail to make them original, recycle concepts from other levels even in these worlds, and even trim some of the levels by removing sections, making several of them weak sauce. And the worst level of both bonus worlds is Sprawling Savannah Rabbit Run. So I really like the original level. I think it's pretty well designed, although it peaked in its first half. And for more information, I will cover it when I get to there on this ranking. But for this level, they cut off half of it and removed all the interesting elements. And now it's nothing but this open field and big cliff, with mostly bunny chasing and random clear pipes. They do have conch doors, and this may be the only level in the game that has them walk around freely, but otherwise they ruined this level completely. It's just a walk in the park now, and there's no challenge left. It's a boring level and incredibly disrespectful to the real Sprawling Savannah. Pretty Plaza Panic is one of those 100-second levels, where you have set amount of time to reach the goal. While the concept is interesting and incentivizes you not to waste any time and make your way to the goal, it only works if there's enough challenge provided. In this level, we get random elements that are kind of interesting, but don't really make the level. Otherwise, it's piss easy to get to the end, and it makes this level less of a speedrun and more of a cheap walk in the park. It's incredibly wasted and does almost nothing remarkable. I mean, it doesn't even feel like a challenge, because there's no risk of running out of time unless you're dicking around. It's uninteresting, unchallenging, and cheap shit. It can be in the D- tier. And you know what else gets to be down here? Backstreet Bustle. Another one of those 100-second levels that is incredibly wasted on a bunch of random slop rather than being an actual speedrun. At least this one has some more interesting elements, and I like that it gives you these double cherry platforms, but otherwise it's another underwhelming level. It's also frustrating not to take damage when you need 4 of yourself for one of the stars, but it's also not so bad using the cherry here. And the saving grace is a bit of puzzle solving, but it doesn't do much to salvage it. Also, f this level for hiding the first green star under this spot, because why would I ever think to ground pound on that? Just another cheap concept slapped randomly, and doesn't leave a mark or lasting impression, so also D-. If the cherry wasn't in this level, this would have been lower. Shiftier Boo Mansion is an awful remake of one of the best levels. That one had better set pieces and wasn't overly focused on one particular gimmick, being troll elements. While that one had some, they were handled way more constructively. This level, on the other hand, was far more obnoxious on troll elements, especially the end part. In the original, it was cool to have a fake goal pole right before you proceed to the real one right after. But here, you just head to the warp box and go back to the start. Then look around to actually find the real exit. And oh, will you look at that? We have a very cryptic warp box underneath the bridge on invisible clouds. I'm sorry, how the f do you consider this good level design? And up to that point, they also sped up the conveyors way too much, put Big Boos in almost unavoidable spots, and removed all the other best areas. Yes, they removed the library section that made the original one more unique, and all the other good sections were done better in the original, which I am gonna constantly bring up during these bonus levels. Overall, screw this remake. I don't completely hate this level in general. Some of the bits are interesting, even if they're dumbed down to one extent only, and it's cool to see most of the color extracted for a more spooky vibe, but this level is excessive on its mechanics and doesn't do anything good enough to compensate it. Piranha Creeper Creek After Dark is another amazing level that they f***ed up in the bonus worlds. They removed the 2D section that had some of the best elements. And while some of the others still exist in here, anything I can like about them has been done better on the original. I mean, the original Piranha Creeper Creek's elements had a significant emphasis on how to approach and handle them, and wasn't overwhelmed by piranha creepers. This rehash, on the other hand, focused more on lighting every single torch to earn a star, which feels so unsatisfying in comparison. They really dumbed down some of the most developed levels in World's Mushroom and Flower, and this is no exception. Switch Shock Circus is another level that felt so underwhelming because they removed the first half, another major section. I mean, I like the concept of activating flip switches, but the original did this so much better, and anything I can like about it has been done before, making this another shitty rehash. None of the new additions made this remotely interesting, because the fizzlets are easy to avoid, and the mystery box is incredibly cheap because the game doesn't actively prevent you from lighting all the switches on the wall with the pointer. Yeah, this is another major downgrade, and there are more to come. And to start off the last bad tier, we have Trouble in Shadowplay Alley. I don't know why, but half of World's Mushrooms and Flowers levels decide to cut off major sections of the original ones, making them feel like cheap and lazy attempts at being rehashes. This one especially because all you get is the brief 2D section, and while it worked in the original for showing off how well implemented the shadowing mechanics were put, they became extremely annoying here when you have to take down a giant Goomba stack. And while it's cool to choose your own power-up and strategize how to tackle this section, it just ends out of nowhere too. Yeah, this level is kind of bad, although it's at least more interesting than the others before it. And another subpar level on this list is Fuzzy Time Mine. No, not the original level. I'll talk about my thoughts on it when I get there. What's really weak sauce is another bonus rehash named Floating Fuzzy Time Mine. This one is surprisingly easier than the original with the water to swim in. And while they added spikes and changed it so fuzzies continue following you outside, that barely did anything to add to it. Say what you want about the level, but I think the whole point of this is to be fast-paced as some sort of dangerous quick escape attempt. And it feels a lot less like one now because of how much slower it is. It's a real downgrade, and this time by removing what made the original feel like it should. And the last bad level is Boss Blitz. This one tries to be more interesting than the other bonus remakes, because instead of just bringing back a level and changing up some elements of the whole concept, we get a refight with all the bosses. The problem is that you only get 500 seconds, and these bosses take forever unless you do almost everything perfectly right. And while I got better at this level as time went by, the experience itself is also painfully uninspired. I mean, it's just a boss rehash. Even if you like the game's bosses, I think most of them are great. An entire level devoted to this just feels lazy, like they couldn't find anything better as a what? A callback to earlier game bosses? Could we not have had, I don't know, a fresh new level taking stellar concepts from earlier in this game and piecing them together in one final challenge? Taking everything you've learned to the absolute test? Oh wait, Champions Road already fills in on that mark, so we needed more filler that comes before it. This level really shows they couldn't find anything better, and it's kind of sad to see how they made the final level before the secret final world whatever in execution. It may be structured better than all the other ones I talked about, but still not a good level at all, so it can cap off D+. Finally, we're done with the bad levels and can talk about the middle of the road ones. And to start off the C- tier, I have what appears to be controversial, and that is Cosmic Cannon Cluster. Out of all the levels, I had more mixed feelings about this one than any other. I like the premise of cannon boxes and switchboards, I like shooting at objects, and I like the auto-scroll section. Sure, it's slow, but it doesn't go on for too long, and makes great use of material. And then there's some of the more frustrating mechanics ever used. While I like the switchboard, it can be tedious to shoot parabones and avoid cannonballs if I'm focused on shooting objects to open up my pathways. And that is the big problem with this level. Half of it is trying to shoot the big switches so you can proceed forward. And they're so far away, you have to be so precise and careful not to drive off course while doing it. Also, another bad section is jumping on cannonballs to reach the high platform. And in a level that doesn't provide a catsuit. There's frustrating mechanics, and there's mechanics handled very poorly. And these aforementioned negative mechanics are designed very badly enough to make any level level one of the worst experiences. And I'm surprised I ended up ranking it C-. I don't know why, but I respect this level a lot more than the ones lower down. It tries to make great use of material even if there are questionable segments. Unlike Rammerhead Reef and Grumblump Inferno, which tackle concepts that shouldn't have surpassed approval. And it's also a reasonable length, unlike the cheap 100-second non-challenges. And the bonus level rehashes that cut off sections completely. Is it incredibly tedious? Yes. And I don't enjoy playing this level for its frustrating bits, but I can't bring myself to hate it if it did actively try to be good and constructive. But the overall inconsistency with being both great and awful was enough to give it a fully mediocre C ranking. Deep Black Jungle Drift is another bonus worlds downgrade, except this time it actually adds something interesting to make it stick out more. The original one is this big raft ride down the Poison River, but this time it's pitch black and adds a bunch of booze, with another addition of headlights. Too bad they also cut off half the level, and now it just ends too soon. Still very underwhelming, so it's meh. And now for the C+ tier, where the OK levels are. Chainlink Charge is gonna potentially sound controversial, because many people hate this level for being a slow auto-scroller, and while I don't like it very much because of it, there are some engaging elements that make me tolerate this level a bit. I mean, there's this challenge where you have to jump over or through moving bars, and it recommends the catsuit to climb them if possible and necessary. But it also goes so slow that it takes a while to get to the end, making some areas drag a bit. Plus, it's another situation where if you make any mistake, you have to slug your way through again. Also, it's a basic athletic theme. This level has its issues, but I'm gonna give it C+ for trying to be interesting. Towering Sunshine Seaside, while also not a good rehash, is at least a better representation of Trouble in Shadow Play Alley, because you have a much bigger section, larger power-up variety, and more Goomba stacks to take down. Plus, I love the castle music and sunsets they put into this to make it more intense. Unfortunately, all this level is defeating enemies. One of the most uninspired course concepts to ever come up with in a 3D Mario game. It feels so lazy and feels like they couldn't actually make good use of Mario platforming considering a lot of other levels nailed it. And while I can tolerate this level for at least trying to be interesting and not being over before it starts, unlike the other ones like this, I can't bring myself to like it, so C+. This next one is difficult, but to round up the C+ tier, we have Cakewalk Flip. I don't know why I can't like this level. It's a nifty concept with these flipping panels where you have to think before you jump, and I like that some of the areas put them to good use, but I feel like this level had some wasted potential. It ends before it starts and doesn't give off a lasting impression. Also, these shockwave lasers are annoying, especially with the double cherry power-up, and it's incredibly painful to get to that stamp without getting hit. It's one of those levels I feel could have done more and occasionally did too much. Okay, now we can move on to the levels that are functionally good. And for the first one, I decided to pick an early game level. Mount Beanpole is a decent level for its cat climbing premise, and even expands on a certain level before it. This time, it's vertical and shows they're not messing around anymore, and adds a whole bunch of interesting elements to it. This would have made a really good level, but then it just ends in no time. I also find this theme to be very basic compared to some of the others, so it doesn't leave a lasting impression. However, if they at least made this level longer, this would have been B+. And the next one is another basic theme, this time really rolling hills. This time it tackles an engaging premise of rolling surfaces and introduces you to skip squeaks. But those enemies were put to better use in Mario Maker 2. And while the first half is kind of fun to run around on those ramps, the second half uses less of it and just takes place in a 2D underground section. It's a neat concept, but could have also done more with it. Also, that last star is way too cryptic. I only know it well because I've played this game many times, but otherwise it seems stupid to have a secret room underneath with no sign that this isn't any ordinary pitfall. It's a decent level, but there are so many more interesting ones, and I can't wait to praise them. Super Blockland is something for a level. This is also a basic theme that tries to be engaging with its premise, but doesn't once again meet its fullest potential. I mean, there's bob-ombs, charging chucks, big blocks, and secrets. Unfortunately, this is is otherwise a walk in the park, and tries to be unique and is sometimes fun to play, but is other times kind of underwhelming. It's another B-. At next on the list, we have Pipeline Lagoon. And before you ask, yes, this is another underwater level, but this one is kind of intriguing with the underwater enemies, clear pipes, and hidden cannon box that can not only help you blast a bunch of enemies, but even give you access to the second star. There's also the secret third star that can help you reach the top of the goal pole. While I don't like underwater physics in this game for how slow they are, this level wasn't poorly designed on those merits, so the swimming doesn't ruin it. It's not a Rammerhead Reef situation where the level was poorly designed, longer, blender, and more frustrating. Overall, this level is decent. Next up, Taifu Flurries. I wanted to love this level because there are some pretty interesting sections and hazards to talk about. I like the two areas where you can use the ice skate, with one having these spikes, and the other having the mystery box. But more importantly, two interesting enemies debut in this level. There's Taifus and walleyes. The former blows wind at you, and the latter blocks your path. But then the game just lets you freeze them with a pointer, which is far easier and more unsatisfying than other uses of it, because it takes little or no skill to pull it off. And then you can just cheese your way past them. It's kind of a good level because of the other positives I brought up, but I think I'd rather play the other snow level. To start off the B+ tier, we have Super Bell Hill, the first level of this game, and I say it did a real good job easing you into this game before things get more interesting. Normally, first levels are basic overworld themes that contain only some engaging elements, but this one has a more appealing plainside hills and makes excellent use of the Super Bell Cat power-up, and even throws in some other cool mechanics, especially that Mega Mushroom section. And while 1-3 does more with the cat suit, that one is also more basic and ends in no time. As a beginner level, I don't expect much because it's supposed to be a fresh start to the game without being too overwhelming, but they did so without sacrificing qualities. It leaves such a good first impression to this amazing game before things only get better from here. And you know what else does this exact same thing? The second level, Koopa Troopa Cave. As expected, your first level is your plainside theme and your second level is the underground one. And just like 1-1, this one doesn't sacrifice qualities and makes excellent use of its mechanics. This time, Koopa Troopas. And while they're traditional enemies, they're more interesting than Goombas because their Koopa shell poses some fun mechanic and is made better here when you can hop inside one yourself. There's also other things such as clouds, clear pipes, and hidden rooms, but that's about it. Once again, it's a beginner level, so it shouldn't be too mind-blowing, but it's another good level. I don't know what's it to this level, but Fort Fire Bros, despite having pretty engaging elements and set pieces, feels more forgettable than several other levels. I like this level for its use of Fire Bros and clear pipes, as well as the blue lava instead of your usual orange, but this level isn't all that interesting to me. Maybe it's because the theme is basic and generic, or maybe it uses stuff other levels did better. I still like this level for trying to be interesting, and there's some fun stuff it has to offer, but it doesn't hold a candle to anything else on this ranking. And also Faster Fort Fire Bros. It's the same level, but a speedrun now. So far, only 2 remakes in the 2 bonus worlds that give you specifically those time-collecting speedrun levels. And this one feels like whatever. I like running towards the end and dodging fireballs as quickly as possible, but this level doesn't ride or die on it. It's the same generic lava castle with only a different challenge now. All Fort Fire Bros is a standard castle theme. And same can be said with the penultimate boss dungeon, which is in my opinion the weakest one. Bowser's Lava Lake Keep is good, but unspecial compared to the other ones. I like that some sort of build up to the last world, as the Bowser fight is harder than the first one, and the fake out ending is cool where Bowser takes all the Sprixies by surprise and recaptures them before taking them up to his epic final world and his theme park. But as a level, it's another basic castle level. I like the uses of Boomerang Bros, spike objects, and I really like the Stim platform where you have to outrun lava bubbles and use Boomerang to catch the third star. Otherwise, it's one of those levels that takes concepts done better in other ones. Also, screw this section. It is probably impossible to get the second star unless you have the cat suit, which this level doesn't provide. Also, the Bowser fight is a complete stretch compared to the first one. I still think it's good, but only that. Spiky Mount Beanpole is one of those occasional better levels in the bonus worlds than their original counterparts, considering how underwhelming some of these are. It takes the vertical premise and adds a bunch of dangerous hazards to make for a more engaging platforming, and they turn this big mountain into a chip section, incentivizing you to look around. They also introduce you to this rare Lucky Cat power-up. They did remove 1 or 2 sections, but that's a small loss in an otherwise evolution. Although a certain level like this does better, evolving from the original counterpart. Snowball Park is another basic level, but also has plenty of cool elements. I like the ice physics in Snow Pokies, as well as throwing snowballs even if there's often no need. But I like that you gain access to the Ice Skate, one of the rarest power-ups in this game, and that hidden propeller box. Otherwise, it's a literal walk in the park as the name implies, but it has its own charm. Bob-ombs Below is a basic underground level, but it has a kind of engaging premise of throwing bob-ombs. I mean, you can watch out for those things, but also toss them to blow stuff up. You can also tap bob-ombs with the pointer and grab them too with it. But that's basically it. You can also use said pointer to cheese past some areas, like activating POW blocks without even using the bob-ombs. Also, the second star is lame because you can freeze the platform and the bunny. It's a good level, but it's also pretty standard. And there's another level that does this premise better. Switch Black Ruins is another interesting concept that could have done a little more. I like the idea of activating those panels to open up the door, but why are they so piss easy to do? This isn't just the pointer, even walking on them is unchallenging. The only section that's actually difficult is the last one with that many spinies and fire piranhas. But in all the other ones, they're easily avoidable. There are a few more cool set pieces like these torches to light up, this far platform from the moving one, and this hype green star. Otherwise, it barely scratched the surface. And World 1's flip switch level managed to be more interesting. Double Cherry Pass is another neat concept on paper, but the execution isn't fully polished. On one hand, you get introduced to the Double Cherry power-up, which duplicates yourself and can call for more interesting gameplay experience. But then the level itself is just basic ground to run around on, and they didn't do much with it. It's fun to run around with the Double Cherry, but most of what you do is defeat enemies and go through clear pipes. Also, that cherry can be annoying sometimes because you can have a hard time keeping all duplicates in one place. Nonetheless, it's good and nothing more than that. Gargantuan Grotto takes advantage of the Mega Mushroom. It's pretty satisfying to smash through a bunch of stuff blocking your path, and just use it through the level. Unfortunately, it doesn't do much more than that. There are a few interesting secret areas, but once again, this is an enjoyable level, but also just another walk in the park. Besides the giant mushroom usage, there's nothing to write home about. Next, Gigantic Seasick Wreck is another level focused on Mega Mushroom, except this one has a lot more for me to talk about. Spoiler alert, the original one is one of my favorite levels for its mechanics, and this level doesn't make as much use of it. All you do here is run through with the Mega Mushroom, and while it's kind of satisfying, it also dumbs down all the best elements from the original, especially the narrow walkways, which are a lot easier and cheaper with the Mega Mushroom. And they once again cut off another section, this time the 2D Tide section. Man, how lazy have they been in these bonus levels that they couldn't fully implement them to bring the original's justice. No, the added elements like Typhus and Octogoombas don't make up for it. It's still a good level for its charm, but it's not a good spooky seasick wreck. For my next entry, I picked Deep Jungle Drift. I was more conflicted on this one than the other B+ levels, because I really like the idea of this level being a giant raft to ride on, which calls for a more adventurous level premise, but the raft riding is super slow, so the vast majority of this level is just waiting, especially the end part that has no elements, yet is the most dramatic part, because you're sliding downhill for a big splash. But the rest of the level has a bunch of engaging elements to keep you busy, but they're all recycled from earlier levels, such as the climbing bars from 3-2, trapeze bars from 5-2, and piranha creepers from 4-2, and the latter also contain the Poison Swamp theme. It's one of the less original levels, but still interesting enough to not be boring. And to finish off the just good levels, I may have a controversial pick, but at number 54 in the B+ is Super Super Galaxy. I love Super Mario Galaxy as much as the next person, so to see a level inspired by this game would easily win me over, especially with the inclusion of Octogoombas, the observatory in the background, and being able to unlock Rosalina, the best of the playable characters. However, fan service can't single-handedly make this level amazing. I like the gimmick it uses with these rotating red and blue tiles, making for some versatile and strategic platforming, something that sets the bar high for a 3D world, but this level doesn't feel like a galaxy. If it were any level, I wouldn't be as in-depth about this, but the level is called Super Galaxy, inspired by Mario Galaxy, the franchise. However, it's based off of a mystery galaxy in one of the two games, which is really just a linear 3D platform level, not a galaxy. It's an overglorified mission that focuses on a gimmick, and while it's fun to play, it reminds us of one of Galaxy's issues with some of their galaxies. To make it really shine, they should have tried to make this based off a robust galaxy instead, even with some limitations for this game. But as it stands, it's none more than plain good. While it's kind of disappointing, it's still fun to play. Just not the best use of Galaxy fan service or substance. And to start out the A- tier, we have Big Bounce Byway. While basic athletic level, I love the gimmick of mushroom trampolines. I also like that you not only have to bounce on them, but some are pushing in and out of a wall, and others are tilting side to side. I also like that big trampoline that moves, and that you have to dodge Parabitty Buddies and can get to that coin box. I'll admit the second star is a bit cheap for just letting you use the Katsu instead of making you carry a regular trampoline, but that one bit shouldn't ruin a level. I also like these hop chops going after you and some being converted into regular trampolines. It's a great level. This game has 3 Ghost House levels if you don't count the 2 bonus world ones, and out of those, A Beam in the Dark is the most flawed one. I love the idea of using the flashlight box to navigate a pitch black house and take out a bunch of boos, but there's one glaring issue. You see, much of this level has these spinning platforms that take you across, and they are so slow. They're not annoying like the rotating blocks in Grumplum Inferno, and there's plenty of room to dodge hazards and keep yourself busy, but if you make any mistake, you have to start over. That single-handedly dragged down this otherwise great level from a higher placement. Boiling Blue Bully Belt is interesting on so many levels. It's another Fort Fire Bros, but does more to stick out and is more memorable. And speaking of that level, this one also has blue lava in a generic castle theme. However, this one has another underused gimmick with these aero block platforms that keep popping up and down, in and out, which incentivizes different ways to approach these. Do you want to wait for all of them to come up, or do you think you can jump across them and skip a few without falling into lava? The choice is yours. Unfortunately, it's also not the most exciting thing, even if it's still great. This next choice was hard to decide on. I mean, Bowser's Bullet Bill Brigade is a slow auto-scroller, and by itself would make a level far lower on this list. But surprisingly, it isn't painfully unfun. I mean, it's supposed to be slow because you're going past a bunch of tanks and machine guns, with soldiers marching with them for some kind of badass war zone. And that music is one of the best songs in 3D World. Also, everything you walk past is engaging where I don't mind the slow auto-scroller. Plus, you get access to a cannon box and shoot a bunch of stuff in your way. And you can even use that on Boom Boom to make up for the fact that he's the weakest boss in the game. Yeah, I really like this level, though it also isn't anywhere near perfect, so A-. And then there's another level, Bowser's Bob-omb Brigade, that does the same thing with a little bit of something different this time. First of all, I don't mind auto-scroll levels. Some of them aren't good, but others can be if handled well enough. And this is another badass war zone where you're supposed to go slow, because you go past a bunch of slow but still engaging objects. This time, instead of using the cannon box, you get to throw bob-ombs, and they make it pretty satisfying, more so than 5-5. And while the Boom Boom fight is less interesting because you can't use the cannon box this time, he's more challenging here, so it's not much of a loss. Overall, this level and the last one are both underrated and actually pretty well implemented. Another great introduction is Plessie's Plunging Falls. This is another excellent mechanic used throughout this game and Bowser's Fury. This time, you ride down a bunch of waterfalls while controlling Plessie, jumping over obstacles, or dodging pitfalls. And I also like the Super Mario 64 Slider remix. Not all that ambitious, but another solid introduction. There's just one issue. I like the split path idea where there's a main route in plain sight and a secret one behind that fall, but why did they put a star in one and a stamp on the other? Now you have to play it twice to 100% complete it. Also, that final star is a bit too hard to get, or at least looks like it. Otherwise, I really like this level. But what's even better than Plessie's Plunge Falls is Plessie's Dune Downhill. This level is more unique because you're sliding on sand instead of water. And unlike 1-4, all collectibles can be done in one go. But that's not all, because you have the same mechanics from the last level except harder and more intense, with these tighter turns, bigger and more separated slopes, and dash panels. It takes a concept from World 1 and expands on it. However, the theme is a bit blander, and there's not much more than my aforementioned stuff, so it gets A-. No more, no less. Out of all the bonus world remakes, Night Falls on Really Rolling Hills is another one of the levels better than the original. The original counterpart was good-ish, though a bit underwhelming, and I think this remake nailed it as they sped up the rolling ramps and gave you 30 seconds, while also running around and collecting time clocks to extend your timer. Honestly, this level is a speedrun of the original, and unlike the other one, this one feels so right. A great level that evolved on a decent one, and even further improved than Spiky Mound Beanpole. Good job. And this also applies to Pipeline Boom Lagoon. The original 3-5 wasn't all that special, but it had its own charm. Remember what I said about the hidden cannon box? Well, this level expands on it by providing those substantially, making the entire level satisfying because even though you're just swimming, you can shoot at enemies, but there are added hazards, and the rammer heads are far less annoying than a certain hated level because there's way more room to dodge them. They did remove the giant clear pipe with the shipwreck on the background, but that's just a visual spectacle. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I really like this underwater level now. I wanted to rank Sprawling Savannah higher on this list because I love the Sunset and Savannah course theme, and some of the elements used, such as ant troopers, clear pipe cannons where you dodge fuzzies. One of them has the invincible star, but the most exciting parts are over too quickly. There's also these rotating platforms, but for some reason you can freeze them with the pointer, and unlike other uses for it, this feels so unsatisfying and cheap. One bigger issue is that giant open section, which is completely empty. All we have is a few random bunnies, and while it's cool to run around on it, that's kind of it. And this underground room is also cryptic, because there's no sign, not even a subtle hint, that I should just jump down the hole. Overall, it had so much potential and missed a few. It's a great level that could have been amazing, and vastly better than the bonus version of this level. Switch Scramble Circus is one of those interesting levels. It has a circus theme, one of the wacky course themes we don't often get in Mario games. I like the premise of activating flip switches, taking another concept from Super Mario Galaxy, and making good use of them. I also find it interesting how you can just use the pointer to activate them instead of running. That being said, they also kept this level pretty simple, so it doesn't get a higher ranking, but it's really fun to play through it, and surprisingly put to better use than World 7's flip switch level. I was conflicted on how I should rank Clear Pipe Cruise. On one hand, I like riding clear pipes and the fact that they made some sort of gimmick out of this. I also like the star power-up section, the warp box chip segment, and some other ones. But I also found some areas to be occasionally annoying when there are fuzzies going through and you have almost no way of dodging. I also found this section to be cheap. Just tap the POW block and you don't even need to use the pipes. Also, who on earth thought to hide the stamp not only on top of these pipes, but make them hard to reach as well? But at the end, I gave this an A-. It's a great level for its engaging use of clear pipes, but I also think there were one or two problems that held it back. And next on the list, we have Bowser's Highway Showdown, the first castle boss level in this game. I love the premise of explosive soccer balls firing out of cannons, and you have to kick them in order to blow up nearby objects, especially rock blocks. And I like the first Bowser fight. Sure, it's a bit slow, but it's more interesting than the other bosses, because it's more than just a simple 3-hit boss, like most Mario games give us. Also, did you know you can flick the bombs with the cursor? It's so satisfying doing that. However, just like 1-3, this one is also a bit too short and could have been stretched out further, so I can't be more generous than to give it A-. And then there's another castle boss level that is intriguing in concept, but is over before it starts, this time being Lava Rock Lair, World Force castle boss level. I love the idea of boulders as enemies, and being able to throw them at objects to smash them or solve puzzles, but it barely scratched the surface on this because once again, this level is too short and could have been stretched out further. At least the boss fight is cool, but this could have been a real gem. And lastly, for the A- tier, we have another castle boss. Except for this one, we have World 5's King Cthunk's castle. This could have been amazing. It's one of those levels with good hazards and platforming, as they make use of these rotating spike objects, followed up by another amazing boss fight. They also have other engaging elements as well, and the atmosphere is more unique with the purple clouds instead of lava. And unlike the last two, this one is fully realized in length and doesn't end too soon. But there are two things holding it back. One is the stamp and the other is the third star. Why did they hide these so well they could be too difficult to figure out how to find? I've talked about collectibles in this game being cryptic in some of these levels, and I'm gonna again, but how incompetent do you have to be to hide objects so high up that you can't see them from the surface, with no indicator that you should climb up the wall? There are purple bricks leaving a marking, but you can't really see them below, and who's gonna pay attention to that? Honestly, that one bad addition kind of soured this level, even if I still really like it. And that keeps it from going in the A+ tier. And speaking of which, and my first amazing level is Contour Canyon, the only general desert course in this game. I'm bringing this up because of how much I think they're overhated. This level is really well designed. I mean, we have these contour enemies, which are some great hazards put to excellent use, but we also have other elements such as quicksand that doesn't sink you completely nor is too hard to avoid, the shifting blocks to run across, and this narrow walkway. All of it is put together really well, and as the first level of the second world, it's a major step up in quality. And from one desert level to another, we got Ant Trooper Hill, except this one is more mountainous, and is more like a mesa canyon. But what makes this level pop out is the Ant Trooper enemies, once again introduced in this level, which were put in great sections to make the level enjoyable, and is satisfying taking these out with the star power-up that is hidden somewhere. And the second half introduces the larger Ant Troopers, which you have to bounce on repeatedly in order to make your way across, which is more excellent use of gameplay mechanics. My only issue is how slow they are, but it's a short section so it doesn't hurt the level. It's all pretty well designed. The Great Goal Pole is one of the better 100-second levels, as it's not a cheap microstage like 3-4 and 5-3. Instead, it is a run for the goal pole that is literally fleeing from you. You gotta chase after that runaway goal pole and catch it before the timer ends, while also dodging hazards and pitfalls. Honestly, this would have been higher if trying to reach the top wasn't way too difficult, meaning brutal, but otherwise they nailed it. Next on the list is Cookie Cogworks. I was gonna put this higher at first. I like these rotating suites to run across and various enemies such as piranha plants and spiked ant troopers. And skip squeaks are put to better use here than really rolling hills. I also love this mystery box where you have to stay on the platform, although the game does let you freeze it. Okay, I don't know why, but many of these obstacles can be cheated by using the pointer. It's fine to use it as an accommodation if things get too chaotic or confusing, but you can once again cheese this level with it. And the final star is lame. It's still amazing, because not all difficulty is extracted by the cursor, thank gosh, but I can't rank it higher because of that one drawback. Puff Prod Peaks is one of those levels that makes excellent use of motion or touch controls. I have stated that you can use the pointer in this game, but I'm gonna say it again now. In this game, you can use it to interact with objects without walking to them and freeze nearby enemies. But in this level, it is mandatory to use the pointer, because several of these platforms are activated by it, and it feels so satisfying and versatile walking on those platforms before touching other ones and being so quick on my feet. There is also just regular moving platforms, but this is the only level that uses them in curvatures and gives a clear line of where they go. Fun fact, these didn't used to be yellow platforms. In the Wii U version, they were blow fans, and while they made the level more interesting, people hated them because of how they functioned. Plus, they don't work on Switch and TV mode because there's no built-in mic feature. Otherwise, it's an amazing level that makes good use of motion controls. And there's another one like it higher in this list. Another A+ level is Beat Block Skyway, specifically for once again making excellent use of gameplay mechanics. This time it takes a concept from Super Mario Galaxy 2 and expands on it, making it more of an evolution than a ripoff. The platforming is more difficult, some of the sections are more unique, especially that downslide section where you alternate between both sides, and there's the addition of the double cherry making it even more interesting. And while I stated how annoying it can be in Double Cherry Pass, it's less pronounced here when the level design makes it easier to keep all duplicates together and slow down a bit more. Real good level. And there are more levels making best uses of special gimmicks. In Rolling Ride Run's case, these rolling cylinders to ride and platform across. But you gotta be careful not to fall off. It's so difficult, especially with other hazards, but also really fun, and fits the bonus world. And I love the toy set theme for how much it stands out from the other course themes, and the fact that Super Mario Maker 2 carried this on. That being said, there's one challenging but satisfying area that Nintendo really thought of, and that's the last star. You need the double cherry to reach the high platform, because the two side ones you can wall jump to give you nothing. If there's one setback, the difficulty, while still really fun, is also a bit brutal. I still gotta love it, but not much more. I said there's another level higher on this list that put pointer controls to even better use than Puff Prod Peaks, and that's Hands-on Hall. No, not the original one, the bonus version, back to Hands-on Hall. The original one was even better, and I'm actually gonna cover the basics of that level when I get there, because this one has less of it, but some of its own elements. This is another one of the downgraded bonus levels, but thankfully less hurt than certain others. First of all, they took the concept from the original being the pointer used to interact with objects and activate secrets and took it to additional levels. They added a bunch more gongs to press with the pointer, incentivizing you to use those in the level. They also added a bunch of hazards and you can throw baseballs at enemies even with the pointer, which is also satisfying. However, this can't get higher because a certain level did this first and was more organic in level design, but also because one section got removed. It's one of the few amazing levels in the bonus worlds, but still a nerfed one. Fuzzy Time Mine is an underrated gem. People hate this level for being a slow auto-scroller and kind of frustrating to avoid the sea of fuzzies, but I love its challenge. It's supposed to be this hard because of this intensifying music and atmosphere, and there's plenty of room for error in this otherwise fast-paced level, so you're supposed to stay on your toes completely and pay attention to all surroundings. That I don't mind the waiting time. If you die in this level, it's your fault for screwing around, and it feels right at home. Unlike the once again bonus world downgrade version, which feels a lot slower. Otherwise, I enjoy almost every second of this level and have no qualms about praising it this much. Simmering Lava Lake is one of the most dynamic levels. The whole thing is rising and lowering tides of lava, different enemies such as Parebones, Blorches, and most dramatically, Charvargs. There's also these different platforms to jump across, with the risk of skipping platforms or the safer choice of waiting for low tide before making your move. There's so much challenge and a lot of different ways to approach the level. Switchboard Falls is pretty amazing. First of all, least importantly, it's a waterfall mountain with an autumnal theme. And I really like when games use this, as it makes interesting use of atmosphere. Now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about the gameplay. First of all, we have switchboards. Another one of the most interesting gameplay mechanics in 3D Mario. While 3D Land introduced this, 3D World expanded on this concept and made excellent uses of it. Just like almost everything else about this game. We get some of the most interesting sections where switchboards are put to excellent use, with the addition of fuzzlers and more secret areas. Also, once again, you can use the pointer on the switchboards, even when you're on one. It's a very engaging level and is generally amazing, but that's all. Shadowplay Alley is such a cool concept handled really well. It looks like a basic underground level, but the shadowing walls and objects add so much more to this level, especially that 2D section and mystery box. But you know what else this level has to offer? A carryable piranha plant. What makes it even more satisfying is that you can walk up to enemies and munch on every single one. And I love how it handles it. It's a real solid experience that isn't done very much in Mario. I know I talked about how bad underwater physics are in this game, but Deepwater Dungeon is the best underwater level in 3D World, and actually made perfect use of these otherwise sluggish swimming controls. First of all, not every section is underwater and a lot of water moves and floats around, so if you still don't like swimming, you can hop out repeatedly. But even if the swimming is bad, this level is pretty fair on it, as many of the hazards are giant spike blocks that give you room to dodge. And the swimming segments aren't long and grueling to go through, unlike Rammerhead Reef. This ain't frustrating, nor does it overstay its welcome. There's also that brief Plessy segment. It's all structured really well, and for once doesn't fall victim to bad underwater controls and gameplay in this game. Piranha Creeper Creek is another one of the interesting levels made in 3D World. To start with the obvious, besides the swamp theme, there's Piranha Creepers, one of the most unique enemies as they stretch themselves up to a certain area and sometimes unstretch themselves while others fall asleep. And this makes for more tactical platforming as you have to avoid touching their spikes, while also deciding if you should jump on their heads or not. You can also use the pointer to shrink them, but that doesn't defeat them, so it's not cheap at all. But wait, there's more. We have this difficult but satisfying mystery box, this 2D section that makes even more interesting use of these enemies. Half of it is underwater, plus you have this hidden walkway that is not only loaded with coins, but contains a stamp on this level. And then there's the poison waterfall with platforms moving across and rotating in circles, making for tougher but more satisfying platforming. It's all masterfully crafted. Not the most ambitious level, but I gotta love it. Can we believe this? A bonus world level that is spotless compared to the original counterpart. Broken Blue Bully Belt takes an already engaging concept with these arrow platforms, and makes it even better by making the platforming more difficult as you have to make big jumps. And they're so difficult, the level had to provide Tanuki Leafs. But what's more important is that they for once didn't cut off any sections. The only thing removed is the platform to push bullies, and I can do without it. It's a perfect remake, making a great level amazing now. Blast Block Skyway is another bonus world level that improved on the original and didn't fix what wasn't broken. I already love the original for its nifty premise of timely platforming, and this one takes it to a new level. Instead of intermittent alternations between two switching blocks, they alternate instantly, making for far more challenging platforming, and even added rolling spikes to give more strategic use of approaching them. And just like the last level, they provided the Tanuki Leaf to compensate for otherwise brutal difficulty to make it more fair. It's another spotless bonus rehash. Champions Road is the last level in this game, and therefore the hardest one. It is defined as the secret final level and serves as one big last challenge, taking everything you've learned throughout the game and putting them to the absolute test. And unlike other levels, this one is supposed to be brutal and unfair because it's the secret final level. They can go crazy with difficulty and hit as hard as they can, so for once it doesn't ruin the level. And while it's insanely challenging and gives you no time to breathe, there is one way to cheese it with the Cat Mario amiibo and become invincible. Once again, why does the game let you do that? It will only help you breeze through some areas without taking damage, but you still gotta worry about other risks, such as falling off or missing platforms, so it's not a complete cakewalk. And considering how brutal everything is, I actually wouldn't mind if some sections are a lot less challenging with that power-up, because they give me a chance to breathe after other areas didn't. Overall, it's a strong final impression and a send-off to the game, and is one of the best secret final levels in any Mario game, alongside with the Perfect Run, Cumina Crater, and the Badge Marathon. Remember what I said about the Warzone March levels being auto-scrollers that were still enjoyable to me? Well, same can be said with the train levels, even more so here. The Bullet Bill Express is a nice train ride where everything goes by fast enough to leave a mark, and the elements are exciting enough. We have the first star you have to get very quickly before the auto-scroll stops you, the cannon box at the beginning of the level, the homing bullet bills shooting at you, the Mega Mushroom, the pipe that leads to the second train, and other things. There's also Pom Pom, which is a lot more interesting than Boom Boom as a boss fight. Overall, I love this level. Honeycomb Starway is another tough choice for me. It's another long and slow auto-scroller, but you know what? This level works as one. First of all, the music. This game has an excellent soundtrack, and this may be the best song of it, as a perfect rendition of Gusty Garden. Now let's talk about the gameplay. While it heavily consists of waiting, each section has different obstacles to worry about that the slow auto-scroller gives you enough enough time to assess them. Plus, each have engaging substance and are satisfying to go through. Plus, the second half has platforms eventually appearing where you have to watch to see where your next path goes. It's a very satisfying auto-scroll level and plays really well, but it's not even just this level. The next one is Honeycomb Skyway, and is an even harder version of the previous level. Another bonus worlds level that evolved on one rather than just rehashed it and called it a day. They take said level and made it harder, but in a good constructive way, as you gotta be faster, but also proceed with more caution. They also added large piranha plants, and while the clear pipes can be a bit annoying, you can just jump on them to avoid issues. If I had to find a reason why neither of these are S tier, it would be how long they take, meaning if you make a mistake, you'll have to go through all this again, but it's still a strong level. Sunshine Seaside is not only also amazing, but it was so close to being one of my favorites. It's a lot more explorative and less linear than most other levels because the first half is a 5-chip segment, where you have to find all pieces to unlock the warp box and is introduced in this level. It incentivizes you to look around and check as many corners as possible because that's how you'll move on to the next. But even if you get all the pieces, there's still more to find by looking around, because all 3 of the stars are in this area before the checkpoint. The first one is cheap, just tap to destroy the sand statue and its free real estate, but the other 2 are well hidden and make additional exploration worth it. But the second half took away from all this, because we get another Plessy ride. No, I don't dislike the gimmick, but it feels unfocused to have a linear one-way section right after an open world one, and it makes the level lose some of its identity. Also, Plessy was handled more interestingly in 1-4 and 8-2, while it's more surface scratching here. Don't get me wrong, I love this level, but it could have done just a bit more. And you guys want to see another level that's both amazing and could have been S tier? Here's Trick Trap Tower. This level has every single ingredient to make this a stellar experience. The level design consists of climbing up a tower while avoiding thwomps and other obstacles, while also doing this in tight quarters. There's also both the first star and stamp that are fairly and cleverly hidden. And it gets better, because the second half not only adds more obstacles and another chip section, but even goes the extra mile to add poison fog, so when you unlock the warp box, you have to race down the tower as quickly as possible, adding even more experience and constructive difficulty. But why is this level so short? I feel like everything happens so quickly and is over before it starts, which doesn't leave as much of an impression. It's a shame to see this type of level miss any potential, but no matter how much I love it, it cannot be S tier unless it's closer to perfection. And lastly, barely missing out on the S tier, I have Mount Must Dash, one of the most interesting themes for a Mario level, as the entire level is a roadway to run across with a bunch of details from a Super Mario Kart racetrack, as well as that Mario Circuit remix. And while I don't have much taste for SNES Mario Circuit, this level makes excellent uses, while partly playing a homage to the first Mario Kart. Plus, the level is fast-paced, and all the slopes and dash panels incentivize you to keep going and maintain your pace. Unfortunately, there were once again some drawbacks. The last star is almost impossible to reach without a cat suit, which if not provided here, then is stupid level design, and that one misfortune holds it back. There's also another issue where that bunny chasing mystery box is cheap, as you just have to freeze it to get to the star, although that's a lesser issue. It's an amazing level, and it was also so close to near perfect, but it's an A+ as it is. And now for the top 15 and best of the best. For our first S tier level, I decided that Spike's Lost City should take the spot. Not only is this level masterfully crafted, but it's another unique course theme, even named after one of the best enemies, will once again put to strong use. We have multiple sections with rolling spike objects where it's super satisfying to jump over or dodge them while making your way up. And if that's not enough, we have these tilting platforms, some of which have even more of the spiky objects. And then the secret room with flip switches. Also, if you freeze the spikes while they're holding those objects, they disappear completely. And while 2 of those collectibles are well hidden, they're not insanely cryptic. Just notice the path that leads to and follow it. And it incentivizes exploration to see where certain spots lead to. Anyways, it's a near perfect level, even if some of the others are more interesting. Red Hot Run is by far the best of the 100-second levels in this game. Unlike Pretty Plaza Panic and Backstreet Bustle, this one isn't wasted by being incredibly short and and boring, and instead does exactly what it should do. It's a legitimate speed run, and you have to run all the way to the end, partly because of those dash panels, but you also have a lot of concerns such as spikes, donut blocks, and falling off edges, while you have little time to breathe. It's so versatile and fast-paced, and plays perfectly well as it is. Tricky Trapeze Theater is one of the best Wacky Course themes this game decided to use, and once again doesn't sacrifice gameplay quality. You have the swinging trapeze to hold onto, and you have to time yourself to jump from one to another like a circus acrobat, and the occasional tilting platforms with rolling spike objects. There's also the one section with these piranha plants, and one of the best uses of Mega Mushroom, and another great underground blue coin star. But what really sets the bar high is the difficulty. Before this, there's been some stepping up in challenge as levels got harder, but because this is World 5, the midway point, this level doesn't shy away from giving us this timely and non-stop difficulty. You gotta stay on your toes half the time, and I love the level's method of tackling this. This is what I consider the point where the game stops holding your hand if it hasn't happened yet in an earlier hard level. Bullet Bill Base is one of the craziest levels in this game. First of all, it has vertical sections that make great use of cat climbing, and is Mount Beanpole on steroids. And unlike that level, this one is fully realized in length, theme, and substance. There's not only bullet bills shooting at you, but their launchers are on moving platforms, making for more versatile gameplay. There's also the upward conveyors to climb, and alternate routes where you climb on clouds if you don't have the cat suit. And while the theme isn't as wacky as the other ones, the burning sunset and enemy base sets the mood for this dangerous level. There's also hidden sections that involve climbing, making this level incentivize you to look around for more secrets instead of being completely linear. It's fast-paced, versatile, and explorative. 3 of my favorite things about any Mario level. It deserves to be in the S tier. I don't know why, but the Ghost House levels in 3D World are amazing. Unlike the new Super Mario Bros. Games where they're just frustrating for being over-glorified troll stages, these ones feel much more like ghost houses with only necessary trolls, and their gameplay mechanics aren't too frustrating, and that especially applies to Shifty Boo Mansion. This level contains so many cool elements. There's the floors moving like conveyor belts, and some stairs doing so as well. There's these sofas that can lift you. There's the mystery box with the spinning object, although the game lets you freeze it for some reason. There's also these bookshelves to stand on to move around a bunch of platforms and reveal secrets. Also hidden secrets. There are also these boos and peepas to avoid running into. And I like that some of the objects are fake, such as that goal pole before you find the real one. Unlike the bonus version of this level, which is too harsh on troll mechanics, this one feels right at home. Enough to be one of my favorite levels. However, the best spooky level in my opinion has to be Spooky Seasick Wreck, and enough to kickstart the top 10. You know what's better than a spooky mansion? A ghost ship. And this particular ghost ship has more of the best elements, such as even more tilting platforms, that narrow walkway, the 2D rising tide section, and the introduction of bullies, which may be the best 3D World enemies. And after how neglected they've been since Super Mario 64, this game and level revived those enemies from their eternal rest. And I like the satisfaction of pushing them into pitfalls and tapping them with once again the pointer. Normally, I give Mario games a hard time for segments that only consist of defeating enemies, but this level for once didn't overuse it. And unlike Gigantic Seasick Wreck, everything this level does feels right at home and is fully pronounced. Spooky Seasick Wreck slaps hard. The Bullet Bill Express was amazing enough as it is, but the Bowser Express is stellar in comparison. It once again takes an early game concept and evolves on it. In this train level, each section is more unique and packed with a larger variety of enemies and set pieces, such as the underwater bit or the Ant Troopers area. By the way, there's a cleverly hidden boost block so you don't have to bounce on the descending Ant Troopers to reach the stamp. Also, Pom Pom is more difficult. Not only the best train level, but the best boss dungeon in 3D World. And it's the only one in the middle of a world rather than the end. It's very close to perfect. Spiky Spike Bridge is an epic and thrilling course packed with insane difficulty and more ways to approach it. This level takes full advantage of spikes, but in different methods all at once. Some are popping out of the ground, while others are moving across one end to another. And you can't slack off, you gotta pay attention and decide how to tackle these. Do you jump over the spikes? Do you wait them out? Do you run in between them as quickly as possible? The choice is yours. But also how the different ways are executed. Some could be simple patches, while others could be straight lines to run across either by going the same way as you or the opposite. And one particular section is two giant platforms of moving spikes, keeping you literally on your toes while waiting on said platforms. Every section is unique and does what it's supposed to do. Searchlight Sneak is so frigging good. It's one of those levels that not only once again tackles a unique premise, but it actively plays different than most other levels. Instead of running through this level and jumping over stuff, you gotta tread carefully and time your exact movements. And you gotta watch out for those spotlights, otherwise you activate non-stop bullet bills. And while they're sometimes easily avoidable, the spotlights can be hard not to activate, so it's not harsh or generous. And sometimes you gotta trigger the spotlight to open up some areas. Other times they're dodgeable in some of the best ways possible, making this whole entire level fully engaging. It also presents itself as an infiltration of some enemy base, and makes you feel like you're literally treading on enemy territory. It's such a masterfully crafted level and warrants itself in the top 7 of this list. But you know what's even better than Spiky Spike Bridge and Searchlight Sneak? A level that brings out the best in both elements being Spiky Spike Bridge Sneak. This is the only one of the 2 bonus worlds with reused levels that didn't miss potential, remove good elements, cut off any major sections to make it feel shorter, or wasn't stellar to begin with all at the same time. Another one of the few levels in Worlds Flower and Mushroom altogether that evolved on previous levels, rather than random slop in the form of a rehash. It's all well executed. We have what made both levels S tier in the first place, but then we have spikes at a faster pace giving you no time to breathe, and then we have other spikes activated by Searchlight, which can change your way of approaching them. In my opinion, it is the best level in both of those post-game worlds. This is how you remake a level for your bonus world. Take notes, other ones. Okay, for this one, I was very conflicted on how high I should rank it. I mean, the Great Tower of Bowserland is one of the greatest finales in any Mario game. It already starts off remarkably as you approach Bowser's giant tower to rescue all the Sprixies. As you run across a bunch of rooftops past a bunch of enemies you previously encountered, and deal with raining fireballs. Then you stumble across the Ferris wheel and push bullies into Void to get to the green star. Then you meet up with Bowser, who is now Meowser, and you have to climb the tower and avoid his attacks. But after the first phase, you hit the checkpoint and be like, oh good, this level has a checkpoint, it was in the middle of the boss fight. And then Bowser duplicates himself for the second phase. And while continuing to reach the top, you get one of the most climatic experiences in any Mario game for a badass showdown. And then you hit your greatest moment by running to the top and taking down Bowser. And then you rescue all the Sprixies in this somewhat emotional ending as a way to realize you finally made it after one of the craziest experiences ever. That being said, if I had to find one reason why this is no higher than number 5 on the list, well, despite how massively crafted all this is, every section has to be fully realized in order to be top 1. And this is a Mount Wario situation. One section missed a little potential because the first section is just rooftops, and while it's still amazing, it left me wanting more. It was so close to being at the top, and is still that good to be where it is. Footlight Lane might be the most unique level in the game. It's a wonderful course gimmick that is both really engaging and not used very often. For this level, you gotta make your way across platforms while following invisible pathways, but they glow when you stand near them. But you don't just have to tread carefully on them, you can ground pound, let objects activate them, or once again, I know I keep saying this, use that motion controlled pointer. Out of all these levels that make perfect use of the pointer, this is the best and fairest way to handle it besides levels where it's mandatory. You get to use it to see your path up ahead to reduce your risk of falling off, but you don't get to sacrifice any challenge like you do in other courses. This could have been number 1 if not for any stiff competition, but it's so good that number 4 is a reasonable placement for it. To open up the top 3, Peepa's Fog Bog might be the most unique and out-of-the-blue course theme we ever got that also mastered execution. It's a snow theme combined with a haunted one and a bit of Poison Swamp. And the gameplay is even better. The first section is already stellar with another explorative chip segment that hides secrets in the most clever ways possible, and is completely satisfying to run around looking for things in. And it doesn't fall apart afterwards, because we get the quick raft ride before you speed across narrow platforms that dip into fog. And there's the most cleverly used mystery box star as well as the troll one next to it. It's such a perfect level and is only surpassed by 2 more on this list. And now, number 2 on the list. Hands-on Hull is the level I was talking about. Never mind Puff Prod Peaks or the bonus version of this level, this is the one that puts the pointer to best use. Where do I begin? The folding doors to open, the incentive to look for hidden secrets, more spikes and rolling objects, the various hazards that you come across, the chip segment and propeller box. Actually, it's all the above. This entire level is all masterfully crafted, plus I love the Japanese theme. Also, I gave 3D World a hard time for hiding collectibles in stupid places, but the stamp was actually cleverly hidden. It looks cryptic because you won't easily notice the open doorways in front of you, but if you see the rolling spikes not breaking, you'll notice what's there. This is how you hide collectibles well enough. Don't make it too obvious, but leave a subtle hint that people really gotta pay attention to find it. Overall, this level's a complete masterpiece. And now to reveal my number 1 for this list. My favorite level in Super Mario 3D World is Rainbow Run. This is by far the most well-designed, masterfully crafted, versatile, and still reasonably difficult level in the game. First of all, we have these very difficult rainbows to platform across, and it's so difficult that being able to freeze them is actually necessary, and doesn't remove the challenge. And while jumping across rainbows, you have to deal with a variety of hazards for this wonderful experience. Plus another satisfying plussy ride. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many great secrets, and unlike the others, which are unnecessarily cryptic, this is a bonus level, so it feels so right to have a hard time finding them, with no real signs of where they'd be. Plus the rewards for finding them are not 1, but 2 excellent bonus sub-areas. I didn't get to talk about the rolling ball or panel rooms because they're nothing to write home about, but these ones are the best ones we've gotten. We have the 2 very difficult balls to get on the P-switches for the first star, and the second star is one of the most interesting because you have to light both torches by finding the hidden fire flower. Then you have to light every single panel while dodging parabones, making this pointer less easy than otherwise. And there's a hidden mega mushroom. Then the last star is one of the most satisfying green star coin segments. It's the most perfect level in Super Mario 3D World, and I have less issues with it than other ones. It also met its fullest potential and even went an extra mile or 2. Without a doubt, this is my number 1 best level for this ranking. And that concludes my ranking for every level in Super Mario 3D World. And just like my Mario Kart 8 Deluxe video, this one is slated and surpassed an hour. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this beast of a ranking, and as you'll probably know, I have plenty more niche videos that are about as big, with even some in progress. As for my ranking, I hope you guys liked this list. It's a lot more consistent than Super Mario 64's, as the vast majority of 3D World's levels, except half the bonus ones, were good if not great. And 3D World is a game that has aged very well for me, even more so than other linear Mario platformers with basic level platforming premises, such as 3D Land and the new Super Mario Bros. Games. But I wonder what your rankings and thoughts are like. Do you agree with this list, and what are some of your favorites? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.